You know, I made a video the other day saying that most of the starchy and unhealthy food we're eating in West Africa here were all imported. They are not native to this country, this area, region. The original food of our grandfathers, great-grandfathers were eating were very healthy, and they are mostly proteinous. And I gave examples of most of the food we eat every day now that we call African food. They are not African food. Just like when I talked about African attire, sometimes if you go to bank on Fridays, they will say you should wear native. That thing is not native. Those materials are imported. It's not native. Our native attire is shirtless. Haven't you seen pictures of 1800s of Africans, Nigerians? How many of them wear shirts? So all those things we saw that has design is still imported. The way they imported the material for the suit, that's the way they imported. It's not native. Some tribes will wear certain caps, some wear red cap. We don't use cap for anything in Africa except kings. You understand? And that cap is not the cap they are wearing now. We don't do native. Same thing with the food we eat. We are eating food imported from different parts of the world and we call it native. It's not native. So I mentioned things like potato. It's not native to West Africa. They import them. You know, I think it's the Portuguese that imported it some 500 years ago. I talked about rice. The rice we eat now is the one imported from Asia. The one that used to grow in our native land, nobody even eats it again. It used to be smaller and it's a different type of rice. They don't eat it again. Beans. These beans we eat now is not native to West Africa. It's imported. The one that used to grow here used to be tiny beans. I think that's the one they call akidi or something. If you are from the southeast, you know what I'm talking about. You get, the yam we eat now is not the yam we used to eat. The yam we used to eat is small. But now we have yams that are so big. You know. But I can cut some slack on yam because we grow yams by ourselves. Even though we know that it's foreign, we still plant it ourselves and we harvest it ourselves and grow it. But most of these other ones that I'm talking about, they are imported that way. So if you grow it yourself, you are sure of the process you use to produce it, at least 80% sure of the process. But when it's imported, you don't know chemicals they sprayed on it to preserve it through the whole shipment and importation. As you're cooking it, you are also eating the chemical. What of the chemical they sprayed on it to prevent insects from eating it when they planted it? Those chemicals, they don't leave the plant. They spray it, the plant will absorb the chemicals inside. It's not something you can wash off. You get? Even meat. The chicken we eat now is not the chicken your grandfather eats. If you see the chicken in the village, it doesn't have all this extra fleshy stuff. It's tiny and it can run. That chicken wherein they use drop quotes. You understand? Quote those days. Those chicken, people don't even eat it again. Everybody is now eating the big ones you can buy from supermarkets. Those big ones, you are not sure of the production process. You understand? So sometimes when you say you go on carnivore diet, I usually advise people eat ram, goat meat, cow meat. These are the ones that you can go to the market and cut. You see them live, where they unalive it, cut it. You buy that one directly. Those are the ones that you are at least 80% sure of the production process. All those ones that have already been packaged, you don't know how they prepared it. You don't know the ones that they injected with steroid. Chicken that's supposed to take 4 to 6 months to grow, it will now grow under 1 month because what they put steroid is now big. If you are eating it, or after eating it, you grow big like that, big for nothing. You just big like this. You'll be wondering where the excess body is coming from. Why are you getting fat? That thing is not fat. It's steroid you ate from the chicken that you bought. So sometimes I usually advise people, if you are sick, revert to the foods your ancestors ate, because our ancestors have been here for hundreds of thousands of years. In fact, our blood has changed to adapt to this place. Do you know that? People used to have AA blood group, genotype. And then when our ancestors moved to this place, West Africa, from East Africa, we migrated. Some came from North Africa. When we arrived here, there was too much mosquitoes here. mosquitoes was causing malaria. Malaria was terminating people. So our people started evolving a new genotype, the one that has sickle in it, AS. That's how sickle cell came. That AS is immune to mosquito bites. Mosquitoes don't even like to near people that have AS. They don't even like their smell. You understand? Not to talk of drinking their blood. And their blood is immune to that parasite. That's why when people have AS, they hardly ever fall sick. Ever. Ever. I know at least one of them that is 60 years old. He said she has never gone to any hospital, anywhere, taken any tablets. She doesn't know what sickness feels like. She has never been sick. It's God mode. That AS blood genotype is God mode genotype. But our people evolved it here. That's why most people that have that genotype on earth are either living in West Africa or from West Africa, or black Americans that we know that they took here for slavery. You get? Now, talking about slavery, when the Arabs needed slaves to build their empire, where did they come? They came to Africa and carried blacks. Because what we eat primarily protein. Most of our food is primarily protein. Not all this starch we are eating now. Our ancestors ate protein. When they needed slaves to work the plantations in the US and the islands around there, who did they carry? Did they use the Native Americans? No. Those native Red Indians, they did not use them. They don't get energy. They don't have that kind of energy to carry, to work every day for life. To carry blocks to man the plantation, retrieve the cotton, work under the sun. They don't have that kind of thing. So they have to come to Africa, West Africa, and carry people that have the energy. Where did all this kind of energy come from? From the food they ate. Our ancestors stayed here so long, and they modified their foods and their soups and their everything to treat certain recurring diseases. Bitter leaf treats malaria. So when people eat bitter leaf soup in the village, they are naturally immune against malaria. So they can stay there for ages and never have malaria. When you come to town, you start eating all this fried stuff, different foreign stuff. That's when malaria now comes. You get, because you have now left the medicine for it, which is your traditional native soup. So our ancestors used the herbs that treat many recurring diseases and weaved it into soups that we eat. Our modern mistake now is we are now eating those soups with imported products. So, for instance, our ancestors would make bitter leaf soup, but what would they eat it with? The swallow is going to be yam, pounded yam. But now, we have left pounded yam. We are now using cassava products, fufu, gari, or what we call eba in Nigeria, and so on. These things are from cassava. Cassava is imported. We were not evolved for this thing. We are just eating it because it's available. Do you understand? So, if you find yourself having a certain strange sickness that doctors can't explain, or you don't even know where it came from, it's not in your lineage, revert to what your ancestors used to eat for 2-3 months. You'll be amazed at how you do your recovery. I talked about chicken. What of fish? If you're living close to a river where you can go and to the market and buy sheep that they just got from the river, fine. But if you're going to go to supermarket or market and buy fish that you don't know how they imported it, many of the fish we eat are imported, and for them to import it, they have to spray it with certain chemicals so that it doesn't spoil along the way, so it lasts a bit longer. When you eat it, you ingest some of those chemicals. Now you are sick of something else that you never even planned in your life. So protein is not really expensive. We used to eat it. It used to be our daily food. It's now that you want to buy from the market and everything that is making it expensive. Our grandfathers, what they would do is that they will have goats. If you go to their compound, you will see 20-30 goats eating the waste product. Why? Anytime they need protein, one of the goats, they will just take it. But now we no longer live that kind of life. Some of them have chickens, that will come home to roost every evening. When they need protein, there's always protein available. You don't always have to go to the market to buy. If you are living somewhere where you have space, put some of these things around. Gradually revert. Invest in your health. If you say your health is expensive, that's your problem. You know that treatment is not is not cheap, you know.